So I'm chuckling a little bit. I just came up here to do this video, and my daughters, who are very young, are still up, which they very much shouldn't be. But what made me chuckle was the fact that I walked up, I heard their voices, I looked in their room. They sleep in bunk beds, but the two of them are up in one bed, writing notes, which, mind you, the little one can barely write her own name. She's 3.5. But just having a cute, fun time as kids. And I don't know, I'm just sharing it. It was one of those moments in the last 30 days that I walked up and I just had a kind of a fun mom moment. Nothing about the world or anything like that. It was just watching my two kids interact, and that felt good. So I figured I'd share it with you. It was a sweet, sweet moment. Anyways, what I wanted to talk about tonight was not as sweet as that. I had a couple times in the last 48 hours a question come up in conversations and consultations with clients that I thought was really relevant and good to bring up. It's something that we've talked a little bit about before, but not quite as direct as some of these questions are coming across. I had two separate clients in the last 48 hours ask me and basically said, Amanda, I understand kind of where you're coming from. I understand the data. I understand what we're looking at. I understand all of those pieces. What, in your opinion, could derail our housing market now? I mean, there's always something, and obviously we're talking a lot about that. There's a tremendous amount of unknowns, but they wanted to know what, in my opinion, could get us into a really bad spot. And I thought it was a fantastic question, one that obviously I'm thinking about, but maybe not communicating with people quite as much as I should be. To me, the number one thing that could take our current medical crisis that's becoming a financial crisis and turn it into a housing crisis, without a doubt, would come back to foreclosures. Foreclosures, in my opinion, are the wild card that could essentially decimate our market. That's what we've seen happen before, and we know that the terror that those foreclosures can cause on our market, just because it's so hard for us to compete with homes that are undervalued, that the bank is essentially just looking to dump. So when I look at this market, and some of my confidence comes from understanding where the foreclosure market is at, and more importantly than that is understanding why I don't feel a pending fear of what could happen with the foreclosures right now. And let me elaborate on that a little bit. First and foremost, the government and the mortgage companies and the housing associations, financial associations, are working very, very hard to keep people from foreclosing on their properties. This is great. This is really important. Banks learned the last time they never want to own homes, right? That is not the market that they want to be in. So first and foremost, we're seeing FHA, Fannie and Freddie, they've all kind of come together and said, we're going to put a moratorium on foreclosures for the next 60 days, right? We started with that. So no foreclosures for the next 60 days. Great start. In addition to that, a lot of our banks and mortgage companies are saying we are going to work with our consumers that are dealing with issues due to COVID-19, and we're going to give them up to 90 days of a forbearance on their mortgage payments. Once again, helping people to be able to afford to keep their housing. Obviously, these things are going to get reassessed as we get further into this and as we start to see the longevity of what's happening. But both of these actions are definitely ones that are helping to encourage consumers to be able to stay in their homes and not necessarily have to walk away from them. Those are great things. That being said, some of the most important things, in my opinion, actually come back to us looking at our housing market. So if we look at the years prior to 2008, that was a time in which homeowners, consumers, were encouraged to use their home's equity as collateral to fund their lives, whether that was to buy other homes, whether that was to buy cars, vacations, whatever it may be. We were encouraged as a society to use these incredibly low interest rates and leverage the equity of our house. So what we saw in that was that as we stepped into that financial and mortgage crisis, we had a lot of Americans that had either no equity in their home or negative equity in their home, which that's something that's really easy to walk away from. If you have no equity in your house and then your house is worth less, now you have negative equity, there's no reason to really fight for it. We learned our lesson from that. I think most homeowners realize that they don't necessarily want to use their homes for collateral. At least in most instances, that's not something they want to do. So if you fast forward to now, here's some interesting information. 37% of Americans own their homes right now free and clear. No mortgage, no debt, 100% they own it. That's a lot of people that have a lot of equity in their home. Now, if I then bring in and say, okay, well, how many people have 50% equity in their home? You're going to then go up an additional 26, 27%. So essentially, we have over 50% of Americans have at least 50% equity in their houses. Now, the reason that's important, somebody's not just going to walk away from that money or that equity in their home. So if somebody loses their job, if somebody has some sort of situation that they can't make those payments anymore, they're not necessarily just going to give up. They're going to say, it's time to sell the house. We can't afford it anymore. Let's sell it. Let's take what we have out of it and let's live more within our current means. So that's a really important thing for us to understand, that Americans aren't just going to walk away from their equity as long as they have good equity in their houses. And we are seeing that right now, a majority of people do have that. So I just wanted to bring that to people's awareness, is that part of my confidence, or I should take that back, part of my fear of what could cripple our housing market are foreclosures. But I have a good amount of confidence that we're in a place that the likelihood of a huge outbreak of foreclosures is at a lower point right now, between what the government's doing and the fact that a lot of people have a ton of equity in their homes. So just wanted to share that tonight. Hopefully that's some good news, some reassuring news for you guys on a wild Saturday night. So on that note, be kind to one another, be kind to yourself, take care of one another, take care of yourself, continue to be responsible. I'm not overly thrilled about some of these states thinking that they can do some of the things that they're trying to do so soon. I'm also really proud of our governor for taking the upper road in this and making sure that we're really safe. I'm looking forward to getting through this with you. I know we're one step closer to that date, and I just can't wait. Thanks so much and have a great night.